Take It With The Programming. I'm Chase Ingram.
I'm Captain America.
And along with me is Bill Grundler.
Wolverine.
And the weekend is over. The Rogue Invitational Q is in the queue because it's not essentially over just yet. Submissions were due, but now
for the queue.
For the queue. The queue is in the queue as they're getting judged, retabulated, rescored. We'll go through all of those things today. We talked about the programming and what was on the horizon last week. We gave our initial thoughts, but now that we have numbers to go with what the events were, we'll talk even more as we recap fully the Rogue Invitational Qualifier. Again, they're taking the top 5 out of the qualifier. The rest are invites. It's 20 that typically compete at the Rogue Invitational, which will be at the end of October in Austin, Texas. And I mean, you know, first initial thoughts, Bill, when we first saw the programming right off the bat. Just as a refresher.
Good events, fun events. As we went through it, it was very power output heavy, we thought.
Mm-hmm.
The strong, I mean, we talked about the, not really seeing an element where it would balance certain things out or whatever, but like a lot of power output stuff, high power output.
High power, heavy, big hinging, pulling from the floor, some
redundant
movements.
A lot of pulling. Well, and it was supposed to be. What I thought was, I didn't really think about this as much until after we got off the air on the last show. The comment that we came up with that this needs to be the most aggressive programmed qualifier of all qualifiers out there because of the level of athletes that you have. Mm-hmm. Being that you have, good morning, Stephen. Being that you have, only games athletes invited, so you have the top of the top, and not top 40, only top 20. So you have the top of the top, and then you're only inviting 5 from that. So you have to have the right people to even be in that mix. So the level of competition, the level of event of that competition has to be dramatic, and yeah.
Well, and we touched on this too about the Rogue Invitational itself. It is an invitational. They take the top 15 for the CrossFit Games in the previous year, or this last one they have. They get automatic bids to the Rogue Invitational, and then if they don't accept that, Rogue, at their own discretion, can invite who they want. They don't necessarily have to backfill from 16 down to 30. It's an invitational for a reason. What is this? Is there another hurricane coming?
Yeah, dude. Florida's supposed to get big, getting pounded.
Hurricane party starts later tonight for us Florida people. California had a fake hurricane.
We had a fake one.
It was
called a rainstorm.
Yeah, Florida has real one. So I hope everybody is safe with the impending thing that is coming up.
What I think is going to be interesting is they can pick a minimum of 5. So it really depends on who accepts the original invite. So I mean, it could be 8, 10. I mean, maybe. Yeah. Who knows? I think it's going to be really interesting to see who actually decides to go.
Well, if you think about last year, is that the men's field was pretty fleshed out from the games the year before, where the women were missing 5 of the top 10 competing last year.
Yeah. So I mean, which is kind of strange. I mean, at least if you're competing, you kind of know where that finish line is that you're going for, but you really don't know. I mean, okay, 5 maybe it's more than that. When you're looking back at the leaderboards now, at the people that are sitting at 6. So are you out or are you in?
Right.
I don't know.
Vindicate, my oldest daughter just moved to Florida. Not a great start. Well, fingers crossed and good
luck over there.
Yeah, good luck over there. But okay, so let's get into it. So last week we previewed the program and we gave our initial thoughts off the bat. We even gave a point scale to what our initial thoughts were. Now that we have numbers that are unofficial, magic word of the day is unofficial, and some standards that went with these events. We have our leaderboard fleshed out as it stands right now. They do say is the judging now goes into that. And usually we don't really make a huge deal about the judging because it's hey, everybody's doing what they're doing. A couple no reps left and right. But if you think about judging in the Rogue Invitational, is that if you don't weigh your weights correctly, you are basically disqualified from competition. If you don't do certain standards to which they have. And again, we don't know exactly how they're going to penalize certain things, but we'll touch on this when we go back through the events. There are certain standards in here that are very new to CrossFit competitions.
Right. Yeah.
And that if you don't do these, I'm curious to see what lengths they will go to. They as in Rogue and whoever does their online judging, is that we might not be missing points. We may have people just pulled off the leaderboard.
Honestly, I kind of hope that's the case. And the reason I say that is not because I don't want athletes to make it, but I think too often we fall into the just old hat of like, all right, we'll set up the weights and we're just going to get going. Oh yeah, we just put the video camera on the weights and go. I mean, the purpose of some of those standards is to make the judging easier for everybody. It isn't more standards to be a pain in the ass most of the time. It's not more standards to be a pain in the ass most of the time. The idea of having the standard is, okay, now we'll make it so that everyone's going to be judged on the same line, whatever that line is. And that's what you're trying to do. So I'm hoping that the coaches and their athletes all looked at the standard and read those first before they did them. Mm-hmm. Not like wait to get, ask for forgiveness later.
Right. Well, let's revisit what we have in for these qualifiers. I got to make sure I pull up the right one first. Let's see if that's the right one. Bam, got it right. Sweet.
Look at that. Boom.
Starting with workout number 1, it was a 8-minute AMRAP to start. The buy-in was 200 double unders, and then in the time remaining, 4 clusters at 185 and 125, 8 bar muscle ups. You do that for as many reps of that cycle, that 4 and 8, as you can. You'll rest from the 8 to 10 minute mark, and then score 2 is you have 6 minutes to find a 3-rep max overhead squat. Now, when we looked at this right off the bat, I mean, this was just a great way to start things off, especially when you think about an online competition, is how easy this is to view, judge, and execute. Double unders, just count to 200. I say just, right? Harder for some than it is for others. But then you think about a cluster. Okay, it's coming from the floor. It's heavy enough that everyone's going to be moving deliberately versus just moving fast because they need to race that. And then 8 bar muscle ups. Like, all of this is really easy to judge and execute, which I think is a very important piece to online competition, and even more so with the level of competition that is taking this test.
Yeah, I agree too. I mean, with the athletes that we have competing, they all know how to do it. I mean, and not to say that there aren't going to be mess ups or there weren't mess ups or whatever, but like generally speaking, the weight is great because it's just heavy enough that these athletes can move. The numbers are set up nicely so that they're gonna keep moving quickly. But it's not so light that things are going to get fouled up, or not as bad anyway. It's not like we're doing thrusters with 95 pounds or something.
Yep. Go FY. No one bats tonight, 200 double under buy-in, but have a 315 bench buy-in, and everyone will lose their mind. Well, yes.
Right.
a bit of a different gatekeeper than a very basic movement. The 3-rep max overhead squat, we talked last time, as we really like the overhead squat as being a strength test, even more so that it's 3 reps. So, you can do 1, but can you do 2, but you can't fake 3. Yeah. A lot more goes into that than just being leg strong. You have to have basically all kinds of, your 10 general physical skills and traits when it comes to not only just strength, stamina, but mobility, all those things that go into it. And even more so, what I believe we both enjoyed was that it was from the rack.
Oh man, totally. Because you want the lift to be the lift. You don't want, are they going to be able to snatch it up? Are they going to have an issue getting it, from the ground or cleaning it up? And since they've already been tired from doing all the clusters that they had to do, now let them go heavy. I really like that they did that. Mm-hmm. And again, man, I'm so stoked that they did a 3-rep. And did you see the numbers?
Yes,
dude. Christoph, yeah, my gosh,
dude, yeah. Where did you come from, Christoph?
I'm gonna hang out. I mean, the guy's a beast. I mean, beast. He's got some great genes in the old Horvath family there, but yeah, beast, dude. Was it 330, 331, something like
that? 331
for 3.
325 by Garrett Clark. 325 by Tony Buckland. 325 by Luke Yankee. What a great name. And then 320 by Tudor Magda. Christoph Horvath outlifted Tudor Magda, who Tudor just had, I think he had the heaviest snatch in semifinals.
Yeah.
And Tudor, and we'll get to the overall standings after this, but there's a couple athletes that are just like dead ringers to have a successful weekend. Not just because like they're just alive.
Right.
They have a unique skill set that they have honed, for a very long period of time, and they have certain strengths and weaknesses, and sometimes the stars align, and that's what happens. That's not good or bad. It is what it is.
Yeah, totally.
The range of reps here for this part for the men was basically if you're getting 60 plus, not including the 200 double unders, right? That's just a buy-in.
Right.
60 plus, each round is 12, so you're getting close to 6 rounds. Right, yeah. 60 would be 5 rounds. So 5 to anything north of 5 rounds would be an elite score for the men. And then for the women, I think very, very similar. Right, 264 was the best by Maddie Sturt, which honestly, if you're like, hey, who's going to win this? I wouldn't have pegged her.
Right. I know.
I was like, dang, girl. Okay. And then, 250. So yeah. Anything north of 5 is an elite score for the women, a little bit over 4, that 4 to 5 range. Fairly similar between the men. Now, a couple things here that I'd love to draw attention to that I didn't see until I watched a Andrew Hiller video.
Of course.
And it had to do with standards. Mm-hmm. One, like the amount of work these athletes have to do all this, like weigh every plate. I feel like Rogue should do themselves a favor. It's like if you bought Rogue stuff, you don't have to weigh shit. It's your stuff. It should be, and I don't mean like, hey, Rogue, do something different. I'm like, hey, what a great way to bolster who signs up. Like, hey, you have to weigh every single plate you have, unless it's Rogue branded equipment. You don't have to weigh anything. I'm like, shit, I'm just gonna go buy some Rogue stuff,
totally,
and sign up for your qualifier. I figured that'd be an easier rule going forward for them, just for fun. And it came into the cluster, and I love this. I'm ashamed I didn't see this earlier, but then again, I'm me. Let's see. Power cleans or running the bar is not okay. The movement begins with a traditional squat clean, so you can't power clean and then squat and press overhead, where the feet remain in line. The athlete receives the bar in a position where the hip crease clear below the bottom of the knee in the barbell. Power cleans or stopping or writing down is not permitted. Okay, power cleans not permitted. Split clean or bringing the feet back together is not allowed. From the bottom position, the athlete will complete a thruster where the barbell is push pressed from the rack directly overhead in the frontal plane with locked out arms. Push jerking the barbell is not allowed. Split jerking the barbell is not allowed. And then my favorite one of the whole thing says, once the barbell has been, I will say, received in the front rack position so that I don't get a call from Coach B, the feet must stay planted and not move during the thruster portion of the movement. Holla freaking Luya.
Yeah, just say it.
I wish we had that in the open.
That's all you got to do. It's this what we talk about. All that ruckus from the open, one line.
Right.
One line. That's all it took. One line.
Different than cycling thrusters at 95 and 135. There's a difference.
Oh, 100%.
Heavy weight, ensuring, because the hardest part about the cluster here, it's not the pull from the floor, it's not the clean in the bottom, it's not the squat as you come out of the hole. It's that damn press overhead at the very end. And if your feet are moving or your knees are buckling or you get a double elbow bend there, that makes this movement easier.
Oh, yeah.
And I love this.
Totally.
I love that they have this in there.
And this is, we've talked about this before in other online qualifiers, whether it's open or some of the other ones. Just say what you want them to do. Don't assume that anyone is going to do anything, because as an athlete, you're always going to try to find not a shortcut, but a shorter line between point A and point B. So if you don't want them to do a certain thing, put the parameters out there so that it's set up. And they did a great job of that. Yeah, it looks like a lot to read, but it really isn't. It's just saying what we all know it's supposed to be, but now it's in black and white. So now you can't go, oh, I didn't know that was a big deal. I didn't think it was fine. I didn't. No,
Yeah,
said, boom, done.
yeah.
Say it. They said
it. Great job. Great job, Rogue. Whoever made sure that was a point. Top 5 women in Part A: Maddie Sturt, 264; Elena Cartatala, 260; Kira Milligan, 260; Brittany Weiss, 260;
Dude, insane.
260. And
Brittany Weiss on that one? Come on, dude.
Right?
Just.
It's not really a Brittany Weiss. And it's funny, is I don't know if all, but I believe at least 3 of the 4 women from the winning Cross and Invictus team are doing the individual Rogue qualifier. Alchama's on there. Hernandez, it Jorge Fernandez or Jorge Hernandez? I can't remember off the top of my head. And Brittany.
What I love about it is, especially for an athlete like Brittany, she's good at the gymnastic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So you would think she'd get slowed down a little bit with the weight. It's not that heavy, but enough. Like not after round 1 or 2, but like as you get into it. But I mean, only missing the first place score by 4 reps.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Because we said before, it's like the barbell is going to be the part that breaks everybody off. And do you just have the capacity and conditioning to keep those bar muscle ups fresh?
Right. Yeah.
Because the bar is still going to be done in singles. Like nobody's going to be, well, I'm not saying nobody. Some people may be able to do that. Most should not, or even think about going touch and go there. As you said last week, that eccentric lowering of the bar, like let gravity do the work, not your body. Like singles, it's Fernandez. Thank you, Steven. Living that single life on the clusters and then just hanging onto the barbell.
Yeah.
You almost got this built-in rest that you can and are allowed to take on the clusters.
So that you force the bar muscle up.
For what, 10 seconds?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah.
To make the bar muscle ups even worse? So much worse. Overhead squats, we talked about the men, let's talk about the women. Emma Harving, 240. Brianna Monteplacer. I've never even heard of these people. This is awesome. Yeah. 240. Dana Perran, 240. Danny Spiegel, 235. Cindy Mikulishin, 230. Those are your top 5 coming out of the overhead squats and Part A. But overall, AB, first test.
Like it.
Like, hey, I'll go event by event. 2 thumbs up for Part A, 2 thumbs up for Part B.
Yes and yes. Yes and yes. Yeah, totally. That's a great first event. I love it.
Yeah. I would love to hear Bailey's comments of our girl Bailey Walker, of what she thinks about this next workout we're about to talk about. All right. Workout number 2, we had a lot of things to talk about previously on this particular one. One, because of what I had said, seemed like a large discrepancy of difficulty for the men versus the women. And basically solely based on the sandbag to shoulder being 150 and 100 with a total of 50 reps. And then the box step overs with the 50 and 35, but men doing the 24-inch box and the 20. This is where I sit here and own that I was wrong, because I made a declaration as like that I thought at least the top 3 to 5 women would beat the top men's times.
Yeah.
Your top female athlete in workout 2 was Sarah Sigmund's daughter, which is cool to see. 1742, 1910, 1912, 1932, 1936. The time cap for this was 21 minutes. On the men's, for workout 2, Yorgos Kerovis, 1723, Mitchell Stevenson, 1729, Ricky Garrard, 1748, Alex Vigneault, 1751, Luka Jukic, 1753. So I was wrong completely, is that the men absolutely crushed this. And not just like over the women, is like they just did way better than I was anticipating between the two. Now, I'll just say I was wrong. I won't even put any asterisks. I was about to. About to, but I'm not going to. I was wrong. I was wrong.
Well, we did wonder if the 50 calorie for the women was going to balance it out enough. But we
I thought it
really
would've been a
didn't.
little
We
bit,
didn't.
but
We didn't
not
think
that
it'd be
much.
that much.
Yeah.
Maybe a minute on each end, maybe.
Yeah.
But that's a lot. You're right. I mean, because like the 100-pound bag for this level of athlete. I mean, what's crazy if you look at on the women's side with Sarah. I mean, basically being a minute and a half over
Right.
Brittany,
Which
like
is nuts.
that is, dude, that is in
17:42.
this event. That is a lot of work. That's a
Right.
lot of work that ahead of second place.
Mm-hmm.
I would have loved to have seen where with these two women athletes, what the difference was. Was it on the row, or was it on like the step overs, or was
I
it on
bet
the
it's
side?
in
Like
the middle.
well, I mean, I would think it
Right?
would have to be, because I mean, all these athletes know that, like, okay, you're not going to win on the first 50 cows on the row.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's also like, how hard are you going to be able to pull on that? I mean, this is one of the things that we love is ending on a row, because you can sell your soul on that
Yeah,
row.
I didn't talk about that last time, and I should have made a bigger point of that. But
I mean,
like,
the up and down is not the
50
same.
cal row
Yeah.
is diabolical.
And now you don't have any legs. So it is all back that you're just trying. I mean, you are literally, I mean, technique to the wind.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm just pulling this thing with all the low back. Cause I mean, look at what we just had to do,
Yeah.
go with the step overs and the sand, like, oh my gosh. But
the amount of
I
images-
wanted to see the video of the last 50 meters, of the last 50 cows. That's all I went on the women's side and on the men's side. Cause that's
Yes.
a race.
Yes. And to end it on that, where that 50 toes to bar between the sandbag, the last sandbag, 25 sandbag over the shoulders. Okay, how can I somehow recover my body and heart rate before I get to this last row, knowing I'm about to be in a bad place for 2 minutes?
Oh, dude. You'd have to make the 50 toes bar your rest.
Yeah. But then it's like, okay, and I hate when I do this too. I do this when I'm working out all the time, especially if I know that I'm ending on something that's monostructural, usually run, row, or bike.
Right.
I was like, okay, if say I have 50 cals, we'll say 2 minutes. Say it's more like a 600 meter row to finish. Let's just say that, or 500 meter row to finish. Right? It's longer than that, but
yeah.
Okay, every break I take on toes to bar, I'm sitting back and I'm like, I'm gonna have to make this up on the row.
Totally.
So if I waste an extra second, now that 145 pace I was hoping I get to do at the end is now 144. Right? If I take that extra 5 seconds, I'm like, shit, now I'm a 139 to make up for what I just did. So now I'm like, I'm not going to take that much rest at all because I don't want to have to try to make up for the breaks I took here. So maybe I'm going to push this as hard as I can so I can maintain maybe that 140 to 145 pace and save me those seconds prior to me getting there.
So my headspace is the exact same, but different words.
Okay.
So mine is this the whole time. Mine is like, okay, just don't take a lot of breaks. Slow the reps down on the toes to bar. A lot of swing, just trying to make it nice and relaxed so that I can keep my 145 on the row for that whole time. I don't want to have to make up time on the end of it.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I'm not trying to be like, okay, every break I have, I'm like, okay, I'm already kind of banking it all in. I'm just going to like mentally try to relax.
Right.
Because I will go dark on the row.
Mm-hmm.
Which I would, God, dude, that would have been so good. John put on there. I wish I could have seen it on televised. Dude, could you imagine just that piece?
Especially if you knew where everybody's calories were at.
Oh,
By the way, the games this year did a wonderful job of actually doing that. What Concept 2 did for the scoring system this year, you could they hooked it up, however they did digitally or whatever. That you could see what cals people were on, like ticking off, as opposed to like one person in the back like throwing their hand out and someone clicking.
Yeah, totally.
One day I wish, we'll be 5 years from now and everybody's gonna be so spoiled about live scoring and all this other things. Like the things that we used to have to do to make live scoring happen it seems like archaic. But yeah, so after seeing this one go, totally wrong between the discrepancy between the men and the women. They were rather close. at your top level.
Yeah.
Right. And one thing to note before we had this is that if we look at the leaderboard as it stands overall, is though we had a lot of registrants, only a certain percentage of people actually signed up or did the competition
Right.
in total. So there was about 170 men who registered for the queue. Only 81 completed nearly the entire thing. A couple did like one workout here and there, maybe two. I didn't count those. But about 81 did nearly all the events. On the women's side, only 64 registered and only 45 completed the test, all the tests.
Yeah.
So with that information of 81 and 45, 81 men compete against each other for 5 spots, 45 women, which is almost half, competing for the same number of spots. 48 men got capped in this.
Oh my God.
59% got capped in this. For the women, 26 got capped, but again, that's 45. And that's 57%.
Wow.
So
It's about the same.
about the same.
Wow.
I was wrong. I stand corrected.
Do we know officially who did all the programming? Was it Josh, Dan, and Katie?
Josh, Dan, and Katie. I keep hearing, but no one will talk about it. As evidence of Josh's podcast on Savan like yesterday.
Yeah.
But
Good
to me,
work.
this has Josh Bridges written all over it.
Well, hell yes, of course it does. Dumbbell step, anything with the dumbbell and sandbags and
Sandbag and
that's all him. Totally, that's all him. But like you're right. I mean, this is what's cool is if you can program certain things, especially if you vet it out enough. If you have the right athletes to really test, not just write it, but test it so you know exactly what it's going to be looking like. And you know what? I didn't even think about this. The difference that they have is you don't have all of the athletes from the games going. Like when you're testing for the games, you don't have any games level athletes that can test that. You have decent semi-athletes.
Mm-hmm.
But you can have games level athletes testing this.
Yeah, true.
To really know where you're going to be. I'm sure Josh and Dan both did it and they were able to do their things. But I mean, you could get some very high level athletes to test these things out because there's still high level athletes to choose from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which is cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'll, hey.
Cool. I like that now. I like it better now.
Yeah, I do too. It was way more balanced than I thought it was going to be for whatever reason it was. But the main thing is like, okay, about the same number of people got capped, the same percentage of people completed it, and the times were a little different. The men were actually overall faster than the women. Yeah. 17 to 19 minute is that elite time range it's about your top 15 men. And aside from two or top 6 women, it's about a 20 plus. Everyone is right around that time cap time of 21 minutes. So, all right, let's move to workout number 3. Now, this is the one where we definitely had the most comments to, not necessarily comments, but like questions, right? How it fits in the grand scheme of all 4, the choice of the movements put together, the choice of movement patterns of the interference with this. When you look at this, I think we said this about another event. Oh, I believe it was during the age groupers. But like this is a triple redundant JT-like triplet.
Right. Pull.
Yeah, pull carry with the lunge.
The different angles.
Yeah, right. Like you've got this dumbbell hang holding on to the lunges, which has nothing to do with your legs. It's all holding onto the dumbbells and your grip. Then you got a devil presses, which is a big hinge from the floor and a big pull through the middle and a press out of the top, which is exceedingly grippy. Dude. And then you put in a legless rope climb that not only is the grippiest thing you can do gymnastics-wise, aside from sitting on the floor, but as we said for the thruster, for the standards, I'll get there eventually. Athletes must perform a controlled descent. Jumping from the top of the rope is not permitted. Individuals must remain in contact with the rope with their hands until their feet hit the floor. Athletes may use their feet during the descent only after clearly touching at or above the 15-foot line, which I like there because there was an old legless rule at the games where you had to touch the line, bring your hand back to the rope, and then wrap your feet, which I never understood. It's
Right.
like, hey, let's make this even harder to judge and more dangerous for the athlete. But this thing, again, this is why we say there is no telling where the leaderboard is right now. Because controlling the descent all the way down until your feet touch the ground, then you can let go of your hands. That means if you drop 2 inches from the top, you have broken this standard.
But what if the part when it says controlled is that's a subjective word. You know what I mean?
True.
Like I could speed rope down with my hands never coming off the rope,
but you're in control.
but I just pull it down. Does that count?
I would say, okay, so say you fire pull it, right? Fireman pole all the way down. Just the old Ben Smith, Rich Froning fireman pole all the way down. Totally. I see that as control. They are controlling. I mean, I believe they have full control. But I'm saying it's the person that gets 2 inches from the bottom, cinches up, and then drops to the ground.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
If you just fire pull down and just slide and touch the ground, you're good. You didn't drop from the top. You are in control of what you are doing, right? But you're right. This is a very gray.
I mean, I would have. I think totally. I think I would have just said, if you don't want them to let go at the top or let go anywhere in between, but you don't care if they speed rope down, then just say your hands must remain on the rope until your feet hit the ground. You know, because then it's like I mean, there has to be an element of your choice.
You think that control?
I'm racing. I mean, dude, I've gone out on a rope climb. Like I get it. Like I know what it looks like. I know what it feels like. And you are choosing to go at whatever speed that you want to race. So you pick whatever that. I mean, take the control part out because I think that all of a sudden you're looking at, okay, well, what does that mean? Just say you want your hands on the rope until your feet hit the ground. Mm-hmm. Hands on the rope until your feet are on the ground.
Yeah.
Done. Then you can speed rope it. You can go down slow. You can.
I like having your feet together on a V-up.
Yes.
Language in there that makes it harder to.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm with you too. Is like even regardless of how you look at control, I think there are going to be a lot of people that either didn't read this or assume that they did what they thought they did, and the question remains is, okay, if you did that on your first legless climb, is your workout over?
Right.
And I think in years past, the answer to that is yes. Because
honestly, I think that's a new thing.
Really? Because
I think that's a Hiller thing.
No, I think Colton Burns was telling a story about that last year. Is that he had done something in the middle. I wish I was fast enough like Caleb or Sousa to pull something like this up.
If that's the case, I would be amazed. And if it did happen, that I wouldn't say that that's the norm. Mm-hmm. I think what it would be is, okay, we're going to now give you the major penalty and we're just going to deduct 15%.
What would you rather? What would you do?
Done.
Yeah.
You're stopped.
Yeah. You didn't do 3 legless rope? 3 legless rope?
No, I think the more that Hiller's been talking that way, it's the race. It is what it is. You don't, if I don't extend out on a muscle up, mm-hmm. I didn't do that rep. Just like the pistols. Mm-hmm. If I got a no rep on a pistol and I have to redo that one, but I kept going anyway, it doesn't matter what you do after the fact until you make up the one that missed.
Yep. Our biggest concerns and questions coming into this was the volume of devil press, the redundancy of the movement. We just did clusters. We just did sandbag cleans. Coming into this, we just did 50 dumbbell thing, whatever, the shoulder carries or farmer carries, whatever you could do coming into this. And all of that combined, and even some people said here in the comments that actually did this event there wasn't a race to be had. It was just a war of attrition.
Yeah.
And look, if that's what you wanted, then you did it. Like, you had to manage your work accordingly and have the fitness level and strength and grip stamina to sustain whatever effort you were putting forth to be the most successful you could be.
We messed up on this. We should have hit up a couple of the guys and a couple of the girls and just said, "What was your order?" Now that everything's in,
Oh yeah, yeah.
what was your order? Because it'd be interesting to know. Like I'm fired up to see Travis Mayer back on the leaderboard.
Me too.
So stoked, and he crushed it. He did great.
Yeah, he did.
And it's like, okay, so how did you come out? Or even like Ricky, how did you come out? Here you are. I mean, you just, you're back into it after your injuries and stuff like that. You did your high rocks. Now here you are. What was he, second, third?
Like fourth.
So how did you pick it? I would have been interested to see how they would have managed, because you're right. I mean, like, one of the reasons why we had the question was because of what we just saw in event 2.
Yeah.
But you can completely change that and all of a sudden make this not event 3 to where event 2 doesn't affect this one. And it would have been interesting to see how some of the athletes chose, because me and you, the way we did it was totally different based on our personal,
I think,
our strengths and weaknesses. We were almost directly opposite.
Yeah, we were, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
I think Colton did it the way I had said it. He did 1, 4, 2, 3. I think he did. Scott just wrote in, Chase, you're correct. Colton did 1 rep short in one of the workouts in the middle, and they stopped his score at that mark last year at the Rogue Qualifier.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which, if that's the case, I mean, talk about getting scared straight. People will be, yeah. Okay. Where are we at? Oh, I wanted to bring up the leaderboard. Okay, so for the men, Travis Mayer wins this at 10:03. The time cap for this was 12 minutes. James Sprague, 10:05. Victor Hoffer, 10:10. Ricky Garrard, 10:19. And then Anol Akai, 10:21. But look at this, 25, 26, 26, 33, 50, 51, 56, 59. So 10 to 11 minutes for your elite men. Of this, again, 44 got time capped. And someone had mentioned this is like, oh, all the girls' time's really close. No, their reps were really close.
Yeah.
Only 2 women in the field finished underneath the time cap of 12 minutes, and that was Elena Karatala at 11:21 and Cindy McAlishan at 11:55. Every single other girl got time capped.
Which, okay.
95%.
Now, yes, the time frame would have been maybe not incorrect, or maybe not be correct. What this shows me is you should have turned those numbers around. So not have the 3 rope climbs last.
Oh.
Have them first. Because now, I mean, it takes 20 seconds at the end of that to be doing 1 rope climb. So you have everyone sitting within the same 20-second time frame or whatever that might be, 30 time frame. If you flip it around, now you have reps where you can break that up.
I like that a lot more, actually.
Yeah.
Because then it's only 2 sets that are under the fatigue.
Because, dude, the last 3 rope, this was kind of like the quarterfinal event. It was the deadlift, rope climb, where it all came down to just the rope climbs, the 9 rope climbs.
Yeah, deadlift, toes to bar, chest to bar, or was it chest to bar, bar muscle up? Whatever. 21:59. It ended with 9 rope climbs, and
it was all about the line. It was all about the rope climbs.
It was a rope climb.
Right. The last.
Sorry, let me take that back. It was a devil press workout, but it was the rope climb that people either could or could not do because of those.
Right. But so that was your determining factor. I mean, yeah, the race was the race in between, but it was that. So if you had this here, it's that last 3 rope climbs where you are ultimately fatigued, and you are now racing those 3. If you flip it, then now what you're racing is not the 3 rope climbs, but the higher reps on the
yeah.
I probably would have made the devil press last. So 3 rope climbs, lunges, then the devil press.
Take the lunges out, man. God.
Well, I mean, whatever. I mean, just okay, do devil presses and the rope climbs. I'm cool with that too. That's fine.
I know the order is in that order specifically because them knowing it's all going to come down to your ability to do the legless rope climb. So if you didn't want to change the intent of the workout, then I would have just had the women do 2.
Right.
Because nobody got the nope. I mean, like it was just dead locked. What? 1201, 1201, 1201, 1201, 1201, 1201, 1201, 1202, 1202, 1202. And that means they were on their 1, 2, or 3.
Did they have a tie break anywhere?
The tie break, yes. The tie break was the time it took them to complete their first round.
Okay. Well, at least they had that in there. That's good.
Bonita, should the women only do 2 rope climbs? Would that make it better? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. If they wanted to keep the same order and the same purpose and design of what this was, which is just fatigued legless rope climbs, then 2 would have been.
I mean,
more appropriate.
I appreciate that we're recognizing the level of athletes that we're going against. But if you're going to have the guys do 3 rope climbs,
right?
It just isn't. It's not the same.
I mean, like watch Alpaca from the CrossFit Games.
Right.
I think 5 women finished in the entire field, the CrossFit Games field.
Yeah.
They had 2 per round.
Right.
Of 3. So now we have 3 rounds of 3. So, yeah. Okay. Anything else on this one? Kind of different than what you had thought coming in, or?
No, I was kind of. I mean, I again, I think it's just I'm more impressed with the athletes, mostly on the men's side. I mean, I was a little shocked to see that only 2 women finished. I'm not shocked. It was more like, whoa, that's okay. We missed that one a little bit, but on the men's side, it was the race was good.
It's a tight cap. Of the men. Let's see, 44 of the 81 got capped, so that's 54%.
And that's fair. That's totally
same
fair.
Same as the one before.
Yeah,
and I'm just giving out numbers right now.
I honestly think they did that for this particular, knowing what this is supposed to be qualifying for, and we're looking at some of the names that are on here. It should be like 50% aren't making it.
Exactly, because.
It's
also
40.
predicated on who even signed up, because 100%. In here, anybody could have signed up. So say 300 dudes signed up and we're like, 82% got capped. It's like, yeah, because 250 should have never signed up for this.
Right.
So I'm just giving out numbers and relating it to men and women.
No, totally. That's why I think it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So we set in 4 and workout 2, where we thought it was way skewed to be easier for the women. 59% of the men got capped, 57% of the women. Very even when you talk about that, especially when 2 different blocks of people who had signed up, 81 men, 45 women that took the complete test. And then on this one, 54%, so about the same as we had the one before, and 95% of the women got capped.
Crazy.
So, all right, last workout, 10 down to 1, wall-facing handstand push-ups. Again, shout out for calling it the appropriate name. Thank you so much for that. And then snatches, rounds 10 and 9. Basically, every 2 rounds, the weight increases as the reps decrease. Men go 135, 85, 205, 225, 245. Women go 95, 125, 135, 155, 165. The other thing they had in here of not just naming it appropriately was the standards. That is that the athlete can get inverted in any manner they wish. Both hands must be in contact with the tape line with arms fully extended before starting the first rep. Whereas previously for the wall-facing handstand push-ups is you had to do a wall walk into it. So say you're not good at them. Well, not only are you getting penalized for being slow and more fatigued to do a rep, but you're actually doing another rep that has nothing to do with the movement itself. and not saying that as a negative, I guess I should say it has everything to do because that's how the movement was designed by the first time we had it in competition, is that you get double penalized for being bad at it.
Well, and what this does here is they're putting the emphasis on the movement.
Yes.
Like, okay, we want to test your handstand push-ups, not your wall walk ability and how much stabilizing do you have. They took all that out. It's like, look, I just want to test your wall walks or your handstand push-ups. So I don't care how you get up there. Here's your starting. Get up there. Here's your start. You can wall walk if you want. You can cartwheel up if you want. You can do a big donkey kick up on the wall if you want. Just get up there this way. Now you start.
Yeah. So shout out. There's another part that's here is kipping is not allowed, which brings up the question that I have for 6'8" CrossFit. Can wall facing handstand push-ups ever be not strict? I think Hiller tried to do that on a video once with Julian Alcaraz.
We had a couple girls in our gym do it. Not strict.
Like, what do you do? Do you like frog your knees out or like?
Yeah.
You know what kipping is for CrossFit? It's like going to the state fair. Because at the state fair, stay with me now, everybody, is that especially in Texas, is that they fry anything.
Yeah.
Fried ice cream, fried beer, fried Thanksgiving dinner, fried, like you can fry anything. CrossFit athletes are like, I can kip that. I can kip anything. Totally. Kipping is the deep frying for CrossFit.
Watch me kip my snatch.
Yeah. Because there was a time when there was like kipping push-ups. I don't know if any of you remembers those where like you'd go down hard and like throw your ass up as fast as you can and try to like ride that momentum.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
That is funny.
Yeah. Kipping. But, okay, back to this particular event. 10 down to 1, snatches. When it came down to it, and you can see that based off the leaderboard, is that you either had the strength to hit these snatches under fatigued or you didn't.
Yeah.
Even though these wall-facing handstand push-ups are in here at the time that a lot of these athletes have had to work on these and get better at them, and especially some of the videos I've seen people do, like this still comes down to how strong you are with that snatch. Again, not to discredit how difficult a wall-facing strict handstand push-up is, but 10 down to 1 relative to the snatches that you're doing, it was still a total snatch workout.
Well, all it did was, for those that didn't have the high-level strength of the snatch, all it did was make them more fatigued to not be able to get the snatches that they want. If they were a strong athlete, look at that.
You have to have both. You're right.
Look at the athletes that won: Tudor Magna, Danny Spiegel, the two biggest lifters. So they basically
with the two
biggest
best inverted gymnastic skills too.
Yeah, well, they're obviously good at that, but I don't think that they're going to win on that. What they're going to do is that the handstand pushup is not going to affect their snatch, like the handstand pushup will affect someone that doesn't have the strength for the snatch. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like they could actually, I don't want to say kind of chill through like the first 10, 9, 8, but they kind of can, because the snatch isn't really going to be that heavy for them. They're just going to be able, that's their warm up.
Right.
So they're not really getting going until the last 4 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I love the setup though.
Yeah.
The upside down, the right side up, the strict push, and then the stabilizing hold with the shoulder, with the pull. Right. That's cool. I like it. And I mean, we talked about the numbers, how there's like, it just seemed like they flubbed a little bit on the numbers, especially with these athletes. They can do the 185, 135. Yeah. Yeah. For the weights. Yeah. But honestly, the people that were up at the top are the people that I would have expected up at the top. Yeah.
Like Tudor Magna has one of the highest listed snatches in live competition and is faster on his hands, I think, than anyone. Any active games or semifinals athlete.
Yeah.
If you guys have ever seen that person do a handstand walk. Jonathan Robo Show, I wonder how Carrie Pierce would do in this workout. Well, one, Carrie Pierce's track record with events that have handstand push-ups in there might be the highest winning percentage of any athlete relative to their best movement. By the way, that's one of my favorite shows we've ever done.
Is that like
The one we did with Brian?
Austin Malleolo one?
Yeah.
And deadlifts?
But I believe she just got married. If I saw that on the internet correctly. So congratulations.
If that's the case, cool.
If I'm misspeaking, then
Sorry about that. Didn't mean to ruin your
got married in my dreams. I don't know. It wasn't to me, honey. It was to a guy. Different guy. But yeah. This one I liked. I think we needed something like this. We needed in pressing.
Yeah.
In a big way. What else you could have added to this other than a snatch, seeing as how we did do a 3-rep max overhead squat in event 1? Could it have been front squats or power cleans in that avenue? But we did clusters in event 1, and we did sandbag cleans in event 2, and we did dumbbell devil presses. Like, I don't know what else you would have put in here other than the snatch. And it's a good combo of movements too. Like isolated by itself.
No,
fantastic. But I'm just posing the question out there.
It's
like, would you have put anything different in there, seeing as what we've already done on the weightlifting side?
I mean, like basically make it like, well, no. And the reason I say no is because no one went workout 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh,
if you would have done, like if it was a weekend and it was 1, 2, 3, 4, then you could have done 1A, 1B, 2, 3, 4A, 4B. And that would have been kind of a cool little bookend to have something.
mm-hmm.
But I don't think that the way this is set up that you would need it, because it's not gonna play out that way.
Yeah.
So I say no. No.
Yeah. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Okay. Overall, let's look at the leaderboard at the end of the weekend. Again, all of this is unofficial. There's, the video review is now going. As it stands right now, the plan is to take 5 individuals, male, female, from the qualifier. And on the men's side, you have Victor Hoffer, who I believe is just coming off demo team at the CrossFit Games. 469. I don't even know how the points are being done here. Maybe the 100 points again? Right? I don't know.
Well, yeah. Well, that would be because for 5. It'd be 500. 5 events, 5 sport events.
Yes, but okay.
Possible.
But how are they doing that over 81 people? Or 120 people? Anyways, my brain hurts. Okay. Victor Hoffer, first place, 469. Bill Leahy, 456. Ricky freaking Garrard, 455. What? Just a few months? Old Ricky Mack, out of separating his shoulder that took him out of semifinals. Think about I was not sure he'd be able to do any of these things. Clusters, bar muscle ups, 3-rep max overhead squat, sandbag cleans. That is a lot of pressure to put. Like, he separated his AC joint.
Yeah.
Right? So he basically separated right where his clavicle comes over the shoulder. So if you bear hug anything, like, that's not a good place to be in with an AC separation. Right? Dumbbell devil press, legless rope climbs, let alone wall-facing handstand push-ups and heavy squat snatches. So for him to come out after missing all that time from that injury and getting 3rd, dangerous. And I hope he's 100%. And that no setbacks happened with this. And then freaking Travis Mayer and Jorgos Karavis as your top 5. But look at this. From 2nd to 7th, 456, 455, 454, 454, 451, 450.
Yeah, that's tight.
2 through 7 separated by 6 points. And this is before they start dinging people for whatever. On the women's side, Danny Spiegel, 486. No real surprise there once we saw these workouts and her name on the leaderboard. It's like, okay, it's hers to lose. Sydney McLishan, 2nd. Taylor Howe, 3rd, 469, 468. Manon Agones, 466. Elena Caratala, 463. Which is wild because, again, 6 points separating 4 spots, but all of these in the top 5, and then a drop off to 447 with Christine Kohlebrander, 446, 443, 441, 440. So, look, nothing is settled. Absolutely nothing. Because if it's this tight in the top 10, who knows what's going to happen over the course of the next week and a half or two. I don't know what their time frame is, but I'm excited.
I hope for everyone's sake that nobody made anything public. They just had private on all of their submissions so that nothing can get, so that Rogue can just do their thing, score it as they want, take whatever they want to do, let everyone get in or get out or whatever the situation is, and then make it so everyone can just, because I want to see who makes it in.
Me too.
Because I mean, Sarah's there at 10, Lauren Fisher at 10, or at 10, Sarah's at 9, Kristen Kohlenbrander at 6.
Right.
I mean, like, right there.
Yeah.
Same thing on the guy's side. So I'm really anxious to see what it looks like when the dust settles.
Overall, you had 7 weightlifting movements, all of which were pretty much heavy, save for the box step overs and the lunges. Although the box step overs get hard. 2 monostructural movements in a sample size of 4. Keep this in mind, a sample size of 4. So half the events had monostructural in it. In 4 gymnastics. 7 weightlifting, 2 monostructural, 4 gymnastics. The rep range, right? 1A, low rep range. I'm not counting 200 double unders in there as 200 reps. It was a low rep range, right? We said 60 to 68 is that rep range. A heavy day, high volume with workout 2, low volume again, but just like high difficulty volume. In workout 3, and then a moderate volume with workout 4 with 55 wall facing and 55 moderate to heavy snatches. More emphasis on the pulling, especially being the more high priority of the movements. The clusters, it's more of the press, the bar muscle-ups, it's the pull. That's a good balance there. You have the squat and overhead press stability for the overhead squats, the same you have for the snatch, but add the pull for the snatch because that's a key part of that movement. You've got the pull on the rower, the pull on the rig, the pull on the sandbag, the hanging of the dumbbells, and then going back down. You have the hanging of the dumbbells again on the farmer carries. You have the pull on the dumbbell devil's press and the press out there, and then the extra pull on the rope. Like, it was just a lot of pulling. But we saw the same thing at the CrossFit Games this year too. A lot of hinging, meaning bending over at the waist and just picking things up. Cluster, devil press, sandbag cleans, box step-ups is a big hinger.
Totally.
When you're stepping through that body position.
Yeah.
And then the snatches from the floor. And all those were difficult. None of those were through. It wasn't kettlebell swings out there. All right. That being said, Bill, I'll go first this time. Reevaluating my theme and thoughts and process, how things went. Of the 4 major tests, 3 I still keep off as the one that could have been better. And of those 3 out of 4, I look at that as 3 out of 4. And so if I give a half thumb for each one, I'll go back and I'll give this a 1.5 at the end of the day of execution because I was totally wrong on workout 2. And everything else in between that, aside from work 1 of the 4 was out of place. Everything else, I thought did its job. I'm going to give it a 1.5.
I think I had a 1.25, 1.25.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay with that.
Okay.
I like that we saw some of the changes just based on the athletes and some of the standards that we didn't necessarily really look at when we were looking at just the actual ingredients of the events and everything. But I still really liked what it was. Like 1.25 is not a bad score at all. There was a lot of hinging, a lot of pulling. Didn't have the push that I think it could have had, but I still really like the events. I think I would, if the order was a little bit either different or if the order was specific, then that would also change how I think it would be because that would be part of the creation of the whole event. But I think it was awesome. I think it's awesome. I love the numbers that came out of it. So I'm really stoked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. There we are.
There you go.
I'm excited to see what happens on the leaderboard over the next few weeks. Hopefully it's drama-free. But then again, just Make sure one guy's not looking at your videos, because
Go
then
Hiller, go.
then everybody will be looking at your videos. So good luck with the judging review over there at Rogue, and we look forward to see who will be competing in just at 2 months from now at the Rogue Invitational. So happy Tuesday, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Congratulations for those that may have made it going through, and it's good to see some names there back on the leaderboard. Obviously, Ricky Mack being up there, Travis Mayer, and Sarah Sigmund's daughter coming out there in the Roadburg. So we will see what happens. We'll see what happens. All right, guys. Have a great rest of your week. Take care. See you next time.